stay calm because anything other than calm is not going to help the situation. But it becomes obvious I'm not finding it, and I finally I start to lose it in a way that it's actually kind of hard to admit. I called my wife, and I didn't want to call her because I'm like she's going to freak out, but I'm like I need a second brain.
Welcome to the show. This is Matt Drinkan, your host of the Eternal Optimist podcast. And today, coming from Playa del Carmen, down in the southern part of, well, south of the United States, down there in the peninsula somewhere, he's going to talk about it, is our guest, Mr. Damon Mitchell. And Damon, I am really glad to have you here. We've already had a conversation in advance. I'm looking forward to this one. So I'll just first say, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm also looking forward to it. And may I first of all express gratitude for having me on, but can I also compliment your appropriate pronunciation of Playa del Carmen? So often people drop the L on the del and it becomes Playa de Carmen. It's just not called that. So good job.
Well, yeah, it's my pleasure. Plus, I got engaged in that area, so I've got to remember it forever. In fact, I do remember when I did get engaged down there at the resort. I walked outside of the room that we had, and literally right outside was this giant iguana that terrified the crap out of me. It was literally, it must have been about probably almost 3 feet long, and it was terrifying to see. I mean, shocking. It probably had posed no real immediate danger to me, but it was shocking
Oh
to see
no.
it. It startled the hell out of me.
Yeah, they can
I,
mess you up. Yeah, they got claws and they have really sharp teeth. My wife's been bitten by one.
oh goodness. Well, then yeah, there was.
Yeah.
I didn't jump up and down and shriek, uh, unless there were cameras there. Then I would say that's edited footage. But yeah, I remember that area, and it's a great to have you on the show. And
Thanks.
as we dive in and get started, I've got the simplest hard question ever to start with.
Oh
So
no.
let's begin in the shallow deep end. Uh, Tell us, who is Damon Mitchell?
Yeah. So top of mind, I'd like to think that the number one thing that I am is a contributing spouse to the relationship that I'm in. But I'm also a dog daddy, I guess. Is that the right
Okay.
way to articulate that? We've got some dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you articulated, I live as a foreign national in Mexico. Some people would call me immigrant. Some people would call me an expat. I don't really have a ton of investment in what people call me there. I am a recovering alcoholic, and I am also a coach for men.
Hmm. Wow. So much to start with. When you say dog daddy, what kind of dogs do you have? We had those growing up, so yeah, just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah, yeah. So two of them, just by total coincidence, are half Chihuahua, half miniature poodle, and they've introduced me to little dogs, which I didn't think I'd like, and it was easy to come around on that. And then we have one that's we think is half German Shepherd, half Whippet. If you don't know
Okay.
Whippet, it's like a small greyhound.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so she looks a little bit like an emaciated German Shepherd, or maybe a Whippet wearing a German Shepherd costume, I think.
Huh.
Yeah, she's weird.
Interesting.
They're all weird. Dogs are always weird, though. That's not really saying anything, is it?
Well, yeah, I grew up with Pekingese. My mom had those little toy dogs, the royal dog of China, many
Yeah,
centuries ago.
nice.
And they were like little small dogs with bug eyes,
Yeah.
cutest things in the world.
Mhm.
And then eventually, the people in my family had schnauzers, which are like the dogs with the 100-mile-an-hour tails. So
Yeah.
we love those dogs. In fact, I love dogs so much that we just moved to Georgia as a family. We got cats. You know what? Let's get back to you and move away from cats.
Okay.
Um, so you say recovering alcoholic. Yeah,
Yeah.
so many places we can go. That might be part of our story. But back in the day when alcohol was a part of your life, like what was the drink of choice back in the day?
Oh, okay. Kind of depends on which phase of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I think more towards the end, it was just about anything I can get my hands on. But there was a period before that that wasn't so ugly, where I was very much into different kinds of rum.
Yeah.
Rum was a yeah top choice, but it was vodka days. I did enjoy a good scotch at one time. In fact, I don't tend to romance those times very much, but
Yeah.
there are still parts of it that as a recovering alcoholic you recognize you had to let go of. And one of the great parts was trying a new spirit or a new like a new red wine, opening it up, talking about it with friends, having that experience. Of course, for an
Yeah.
alcoholic, it quickly dovetails into drinking it rapidly and just trying to get intoxicated. So
Yeah.
devolves quickly, unfortunately. But there is that moment where it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking of beauty in terms of alcohol. And I remember back when I was in college, I never had alcohol before college. So I got there and print magazines were still a big thing. Maybe they are
Mm.
now. I haven't bought one in years, but the print magazines are big. And the Absolute vodka brand was like the big stuff 30 years ago when I was in school. And my college roommate, he would get all of those and rip them out of the magazines and he would cover his wall in our dorm room with all the Absolute Citron, Absolute Vodka. And those were some really cool ads. I never
Yeah.
had any of the alcohol, but
Yeah.
the ads were really cool. That's what first comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
Um, anyways,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah. 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 Absolute did some great stuff. That's a very 90s way of decorating a room, by the way. Like
yeah,
magazine pictures, like wallpaper.
yes, yes. I mean, I look at my office right now, and everything is framed prints of the Masters or my honeymoon.
Mm,
Yeah. I don't think that we want to take our conversation down the road of my decorative ability or yours. So let's go back to
mm.
something incredibly interesting, maybe
Okay.
provocative. Uh,
Okay.
and I'd love to ask you kind of the big question. The big question is if you take any time in your life, it could be right now, today, all the way back to birth, and you look at here was a very difficult period that I had to endure and overcome.
Mm,
What in your life comes to mind for you, Damon, as that time in life that was very challenging for you that you had to learn how to overcome?
mm. You know, before this more recent event, I would have told you the answer was sobriety, was putting down the bottle and reconciling myself with myself. But that's,
Yeah.
12 years in the rear view at this point. More
Okay.
recently, last year in actually July of last year, so it's only just come on a year, I had an incident happen. It took me a few months to figure out what was going on, but I'll cut to the chase. My C5, C6, that's the disc between the fifth cervical vertebrae and six, collapsed ultimately to 3 millimeters, which is a really tight space. And the net effect of that was neurological damage that I am still trying to overcome.
Mm. Man,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm feeling you right now because I had some similar challenges in a different vertebra.
Yeah. Lumbar, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Same.
yeah,
They're both. So I also have degenerative disc disease in my lumbar. As it turns out, I have a lot of discs that aren't really in great shape. It's going well, just to jump to the happy ending here, but well is a relative term with things like this. And
yeah,
the hard part is reconciling yourself with this new version of yourself that if you go shopping for new outfits, not that we would do that as men, but if you like, let's say you're going to decorate your
Well, I
office
wouldn't
with,
go shopping. I would just go to Amazon, probably.
sure,
Just push a button with, yeah,
but you have these ideas of a person you're going to become. Maybe you move your home to a new place or you take on a
yeah,
new career. These are all sort of like focused. I'm going to go do this thing and achieve this thing. When I say it's moving along, it's definitely not a mountain I intended to climb, but here we are.
yeah. Well, so you say July of 2024 is when
Yeah.
things started to kind of come to a head. Can you go back to that month and just kind of walk us through
Yeah.
the start of the month and through whatever happened? Just take us from there.
Yeah, so it's easy to remember because of the Independence Day holiday. It was actually July 5th. We had a hurricane come through and it wasn't too bad, but
Yeah.
there was a point where we were sitting there with the power out and it was daylight and this is so crazy, but we at the place we were living at the time had floor to ceiling windows and the sun would hit them in the day and they'd be impossible to clean. The storm had passed. There was nothing else to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna clean the windows right now. I've got a window of time with the storm's passed, and I'm cleaning the windows. And I got done, and I sat down with my wife, who stayed inside doing a puzzle, and I was like, kind of feels like I'm getting the flu. I have these like aches in my shoulder. I'm like, I don't know where I got it from. Well, fast forward about 24 hours and I'm going to the ER because I'm having just
What?
crazy weird pain. This pain
Huh.
was like undescribable. The ER tested me for dengue fever, which some people might be familiar with, like West Nile. These are
Okay.
mosquito-borne illnesses.
Okay.
Dengue is pretty nasty if you get it. Some people don't get symptoms. They tested me for that and for COVID. I'm like, I don't have either of those. Well, I was wrong. Apparently, I'd had a dengue infection. They said I had the antibodies. So they treated me for dengue. They said, it's out of your system, but the pain is you fighting it. Take these muscle relaxers and you go to sleep. And I did that. I said, listen, I've got to go to Los Angeles in a few days. She said, well, if your blood pressure's good, then you can go. So I went. I had 10 of the worst days in Los Angeles. I was staying in hotels. I would sleep maybe 2 hours a night. And I don't mean in a row, I mean in like 20-minute pops. And then I'd wake up in this immense pain. I would pace the floor, take a hot shower, pace the floor some more until I could get myself back into a horizontal position and sleep. This went on for 10 days. I'm like
Oof.
losing sleep and I'm noticing atrophy and I don't know what's going on. So I got back to Playa and I went and saw my general doctor, and she's like, this is not dengue. So she sends me to get a CAT scan. And from that, she's like, you need to see, what is it called in English? A pneumologist, a pulmonologist, a pulmonary doctor.
Okay.
I had pneumonia. So we went, oh, that's what it is. It's pneumonia. So we started to treat the
Huh.
pneumonia, put my in antibiotics. I'm thinking, okay, in a matter, once these antibiotics kick in, I'm going to start feeling better. I didn't start feeling better. So I reached out to that doctor and I said, look, I used to be a personal trainer. I know a little bit about the body, just enough to get me in trouble. There's something wrong with me neurologically. Could you please refer me to a neuro specialist? So she did. I went to him. He did some field tests in his office. He's like, we need a what's it called in English? The scan where the thing spins around you, the full body. I'm blanking on the
MRI.
name.
Uh,
MRI.
Oh,
So we
man.
did an we
That's
did an
in
MRI.
the machine where you have to lay still in
Oh
that
yeah.
tight. How
Oh
was
yeah.
that experience for you? Any
You know, I've
claustrophobia or anything?
actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had a few MRIs. I do okay with that. I do okay with those kind of spaces. I keep a pretty ardent meditation practice, and so I'm okay with discomfort.
Okay.
But it's still uncomfortable. Like it was still, and I was having, because the knock-on effects from the neurological problems, I was having trouble with my diaphragm. I wasn't able to breathe right. If I jumped up and down, I could feel my stomach push up because it was my diaphragm wasn't functioning. So it was just like that muscle was loose. So my insides were flying up and down when I would jump. I had lost use of my triceps. I couldn't lift my arms past a range. It was scary for a bit there. And he's like, look, this is what's happening. This is what we need to do. I got talked to a couple of other doctors. They said the exact same thing. I said, well, I got a guy locally. I like him. I trust him. He's a young guy, but he's really smart. And November 1st of 2024, I had the surgery done. They go through the front of your neck.
Oh,
They
wow.
put a piece of metal and they scrape out what's left of that disc. They jack it up and put a piece of metal in there.
Man, what was maybe the night before, morning of the surgery? What was that like for you and your wife in that time?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I at that point I was so ready to start recovering because
Yeah.
it was July to November and I'd even been seeing a physical therapist to try to do pre-prep work. It wasn't really getting me anywhere. And I was like, I just at this
Yeah.
point, I need the surgery so the nerves can start reconnecting so I can because I work out 6 days a week and I was still trying to mobilize and work, but there's just, if the electricity's cut off, the lights aren't coming on. They weren't because they were pinched by the vertebrae. It was just you can't innervate something if it's pinched off. So actually, as scary as the surgery might have been, and I wasn't really scared. I was mostly just like, okay, cool. Let's get over this. Let's get on the other side of this. Let's start. I want my Rocky Balboa moment. I want to come out of
Yeah.
this fighting. Like I need to fight my way out of this.
Yes. Yeah. Something for context for any listener out there who has not had this type of physical challenge. Check us out on YouTube so you can look at Damon right now. He's fit. He's he's fit. He's
Thank you.
strong. He's fit. He comes from a background of being someone who, for a living, is fit and serves. I mean, you look at him, you wouldn't know anything is wrong. He's super strong now, and he even has been in the past. But to
Yeah.
go through that is a suffering in silence many times that
Yeah.
people just don't know. Because I remember when I was having my neurological challenges and having my disc problems back in 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
it would reduce me to the ground in my house, crying, unable to move,
Yeah.
paralyzed until the
Yeah.
pain stops. And I'd have to lay flat on my back, put my legs up on the couch,
Yeah.
and just lay there and just wait for it to the wave to pass me. Now, it wasn't long. It was probably 30 seconds,
Yeah.
maybe a minute, but the minute was so excruciating that I could not do anything at all except for just pray and just get through it.
Yeah.
And if anyone's ever has never had a problem like that, it doesn't show up all the time in public, so you wouldn't know. I look normal and like I'm healthy and strong and everything,
Yeah.
every once in a while for me, and when I was having my issues with discs, it would reduce me to the floor into the fetal position, and there wasn't strength of will that would get
Yeah.
me to move through that. So that was my experience.
Yeah.
When you were in the depths of pain, because you mentioned undescribable pain, can you
Yeah.
try to describe where you felt it, what that was like a little
Sure.
bit?
Yeah, so a lot of that was the first week or two. I got on good drugs eventually, so that helped a lot. Also, the body acclimates to pain, and so you kind of reach a homeostasis where it stops recognizing the pain at the level. But at first, I mean, it was what was weird is I couldn't figure out what was going on. Right, I'm thinking I have some sort of like a bacteria or an infection, and I would lie down, and what would happen is because when I'd lie down, I'd put pressure on the actual problem itself on the pillow, is the pain would rise. And so I'd be caught in this like I can remember being in this hotel room in LA and I'm pacing around. I'm trying to like just calm down and control my breathing. And I'm looking at that bed. And when you're really tired, you're so tired that a commercial comes on the TV for like some kind of bed. You watch the commercial and you're like, you know what? I should go to bed right now. Like you can feel that compulsion to be asleep. And I could feel it. I'd look at the bed, it looks so comfortable. I just want to get into that thing and get comfortable. And I'd get in there and I'd kind of be comfortable for a beat. And then the pain would just spike and I would kind of jump out of the bed like I can't fall below the surface of sleep. And that was maddening
Yeah,
in a way that's just hard to articulate. Whereas like you can't have this thing that's right there that would be amazing, but nope. That
yeah,
was the hardest part. I eventually the thing I was grappling with was I've lived a life as you said. I've been in fitness in some form since I was 19 years old. I've always been able to overcome. I've had times where I was, working on different things, losing body fat, trying to gain muscle. Maybe I've got a sprained ankle or some physical thing. I've always been able to overcome things pretty well. There was just a limit to what I was able to do with this. And there was nothing I could do about that limit. It was just like you're just gonna end up like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with the work for the day. And the arc of recovery is slow and long with this kind of thing. I'm still in it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
say you're saying like, you're looking at me, you're saying I'm fit. I'm like, well, if I took my shirt off and show you, I can show you where my rotator cuff muscle in my back hasn't recovered. There's a dent in my back because there's a particular part of the rotator cuff that's still just atrophied. It works, but it's lost its mass. Like I can stand in front of the mirror and go, that used to look better. That used to look
Yeah.
better. Oh, oh
I hear
well.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's acceptance. It is tolerance and acceptance and learning to love what is.
Well, you also said something that really caught my attention. You flew to LA, and you were there for 10 days. And what I'm really curious about is the flight itself, because where my genesis of where my back problem started, it may have started on a red-eye flight where I had to sit in the Los Angeles airport for 4 hours and
Mm,
then overnight fly for 5 hours in what would become the last coach seat of my life.
mm,
I flew in the coach seat, and I'm 6'7", so sitting in a seat with your back sitting very erect, with your legs up like that, with no space. All of that combined, and then to get home in the morning in Charlotte, where I lived at the
yeah.
time, and then to be able to, I don't know why I did this. I scheduled several coaching calls for that day, and I did them from my car in the parking garage. So
Oof.
I was for about 11 and a half to 12 hours seated in uncomfortable positions, not natural and not, yeah, not comfortable. And I got home and I could not walk. I had to lay down for the next 2 days, and something was wrong. That's when my health declined over the next several months. That was December 3rd of 2015 when it really hit its
Mm,
head. But for your experience, what was your experience on a plane
yeah.
on the way there? And then after 10 days of hardly any rest, the
Yeah.
way back, what was that flight like for you, the flights?
So to be honest, I don't, I do remember it being difficult. And I do remember briefly sleeping, but this is where things were actually getting worse and I didn't even realize it because I didn't know what was going on. The flight wasn't great, but I'm pretty accustomed to flights not being great in that way, in the exact way you describe. You know, you're crammed in this little seat. Have you seen these new seats they're coming out where they're prospectively like where you're kind of standing? They create like a this is for like economics. The
No.
airlines want to get more money. Yeah.
Wow.
You're not really sitting, you're in a kind of a lean where it's like almost like a bicycle seat, but more comfortable, and you kind of just have a backrest and you're closer to the people in front of you, which doesn't sound awesome. But I was talking to some friends about this, like, oh, this is terrible. They're just money grubbing. And I'm like, actually, for your spine, this is a better way to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
sign me up, but can I get some more room? I don't want to feel the people in front of me so close.
Fair. And this is the Eternal Optimist podcast. So yes, people will be pessimistic about it's a money grab, but for those of us with spinal challenges, standing or leaning, I've explored that option at my house.
Yes.
To get away from a couch for like 2 or 3 hours a night and to actually
Yeah.
have something to lean on. So I legitimately would consider that
Smart.
looking into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, you're back from there. What happens when you're back from LA between that July to November timeframe? I think that's where we're at. We're at November now.
Yeah.
So what happens there moving forward?
I'll tell you a little an anecdote that might add some color to this. So just a little bit backed up, my flight back from LA to Playa del Carmen.
Yeah.
I stayed at a variety of hotels in LA. The last one was like literally walking distance from the terminal, like this airport hotel right there, by intention. I knew I had to get up early for flight before the sun, and I just wanted to roll out of bed and either walk there. Ended up taking a shuttle, and as I'm in the shuttle ride to the airport, I'm sitting there and I'm mentally so exhausted because I have cumulatively about 8 hours of sleep over 10 days. The the brain's not functioning. It's like I've been partying, but I haven't had any fun. And I suddenly think, yeah, where is my passport? Now I'm a person who doesn't lose things. I'm very like A-type personality, very organized. Everything has a space, but I'm not functioning. And I get to the airport and I'm like, there's this metal table there. I'm just gonna put my bag up there and I'm gonna find it. I just don't remember and I'll find it. And I'm pulling things out. I have those little cubes. That's how organized I am. Like all my clothes are in little cubes
Yeah.
in my bag.
Oh yeah.
It's very easy for me to figure out I'm not finding it. And as I'm looking for it, I'm thinking, stay calm because anything other than calm is not going to help the situation. But it becomes obvious I'm not finding it, and I finally I start to lose it in a way that it's actually kind of hard to admit. I called my wife and I didn't want to call her because I'm like, she's going to freak out. But I'm like, I need a second brain. I need somebody who can think straight to help me with this. I had already called the first hotel I stayed at and asked them, and they said, no, there was nothing in the room. That was the last time I remembered seeing it. And I called my wife and I said, babe, I don't want you to freak out, but I'm kind of losing my wits here and I need to think this through. And then I started crying. Not like crazy, but I was like, it's just emotion started coming out of me. And it's like, I need to calm down. I need your help. She's like, I'll call the other hotels you stayed at. You keep looking. And I'm looking at my bag and my cubes of clothes on this table, and I'm thinking, there's this little tiny pocket in the front. It looks like a little pencil pocket. I'm like, I swear I just checked that, but I don't trust my brain at this point. So I'm just going to open it one more time. If it's the third time I've looked in there and it's the third time I found it's not in there, fine. But I don't care. I opened it up. There's my passport.
Oh, thank God.
And I immediately remembered putting it in there so that this wouldn't happen. I immediately had a
Oh,
memory of thinking, I'm going to put this in here so I don't get to the airport and wonder where my passport is. I saw that the first day this could be a problem, but I didn't remember doing that for myself.
wow.
So
Wow, man.
so it's like,
Was
called
that
my
a
wife. I'm
moment
like,
of elation? Did you just start crying
oh
when you
man.
saw it? Oh,
Because I
yes.
needed so badly to get back to my doctor because this is where
Yeah.
my health care is. I can't afford to go to a doctor in LA. I don't have coverage there. I'm covered in Mexico. So I'm like, I can't see somebody here. I can't stay here anymore. I need to go home. I need to sleep. I need pills to help me sleep. And just everything went
Yeah.
chaos at that point in a way that I'm generally not wired to lose my stuff that way. Like, I
Yeah.
don't mean my things, but my emotional state. Like, I was just like, ooh, I am in rare form here. But I got back and I got the help. And then yeah, we saw the neuro and then he's like, I want you to go to PT first. We need to spend a little time seeing if we can like get you prepared for because there's going to be recovery afterwards. And then I did the surgery, and then it's just been PT, and I have my own program, so I really partnered with my PT to talk about the program and how to work on myself, and I'm still at it. I'm still working on it. It's a 12 to 18 month recovery. I'm not even a year since my surgery.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah. So I'm
Wow.
still fighting. I mean, that's been the good thing in this, Matt. Like I had to find a way to look at this in a way that didn't make me a victim. And I said to my wife, I said, the only thing I can think of is I've got something to fight for right now.
Mm.
Before this, my workouts were kind of just, I mean, I've been working out for so long. It's just, you just doing it, you're just doing it. I'm like, for the first time, I'm like, in a long time, I'm like, I mean, I joke about this like Rocky Balboa moment, but I have this kind of like the music in the backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try to sing it right now. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but that's been my like,
Was
that's
that a
been my
cue? Were you wanting me to ask you to sing right now? Because I'll ask you to sing if you want to sing right now. Do you want to perform some Rocky?
no, 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 no. I don't want to scare off any listeners.
Okay. But you said something in profound wisdom. I hope the listeners caught it. Is that when you were in and still are recovering from this challenging situation, which is out of your control to some extent, a lot of it's out of
Yeah,
your control, you found something to fight for. And
yeah,
that is part of the inspiration that is driving you, that's helping you. Can you
yeah.
talk a little bit about that? How did you come to that conclusion, and what are you fighting for?
Yeah, to recover as much of my mobility, my strength, and to a certain extent the aesthetics that I had before. I mean, to me, independence has always been the number one driver for my fitness program. Like healthy mind, independence, and those weren't going to go away. But I mean, I was at a point where I couldn't even lift any kind of weight over my head. So just having the ability to like, put something up in a cupboard, that was like a
Yeah.
first thing. But getting my strength back. The first time I got on the bench early days. I don't remember exactly when, but I'm like, I'll just bench press the bar. I've got a 35-pound junior Olympic bar. I'm like, I'll just bench this. I pinned myself immediately. I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh,
I'm like,
man.
Christina,
Wow.
I can't push this thing off. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I
Wow.
couldn't even just press the bar. That's how low it went. That's not true anymore. I'm back in there, and I'm not gonna try to brag on my bench press. It's still not that. It was never that impressive, but it was definitely more than the bar. And so
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like this is this is what I'm fighting for. Is every inch of recovery I can get back. So
Man.
yeah,
I'm feeling this right now because I remember this time, and thank God we've made it through that season, and hopefully that we don't go back to that. But I'm with you, man.
what's
Yeah,
your
some
alternative? Sit around and feel sorry for yourself and make yourself a victim. This happened to me. This thing happened to me. It's so
mm,
unfair. It's like, yeah, it's all true. I can't tell myself that story. That story doesn't get me anywhere. That keeps me stuck in this spot.
that's right. Dangerous mindset, taking on the victim and trying to blame someone and not owning it, or just blame in general, victimhood in general. I'm with you. The positive opposite of that, in my mind, is to ask myself the question, what is it about this situation that I need to own myself? Either
Yeah,
for how I got here, if I can own that, but then owning where I am now and who I've got to be moving forward. And to me, it's
yeah,
back to what am I fighting for? And for me, I'm fighting for my family. I'm fighting for the
yeah,
kids. I'm fighting for my wife. I'm fighting that if I am disabled and unable to do what I do,
yeah,
then I then become a liability. At least that's the way I look at it.
yeah,
And right now, I want to be able to serve them. I want to be able to build wealth. I want to build a lifestyle, and if I do that from, because I was in a wheelchair for a little while, if I do that from a
oof,
wheelchair or I do that, fully physically fit and still a scratch golfer, either way, I'm going to give my best to it because I owe that to the family. And
yeah,
there's no other way in that mind. Um, so yeah, a little bit about Damon's mind. Tell me more of the things that go through Damon's mind to keep you on this path to recovery.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you put it in those terms because I do think about service. I think about just the fact that I always know that, I'm not, I'm not by any means a Hulk, or I'm not like the strongest guy, but I'm able enough that if somebody needs help with something, they need to move something heavy or need to do something,
Yeah.
I've been a good resource for that.
Yeah.
And it's a source of worth too, as well for myself, is to know that I have this inside. Um, and that's been, I think, in the background of this, is to be able to be that person. I don't know that I would say I'm satisfied at this point with with what I've recovered in regards to that. So I'm still fighting. But yeah, 100% that. It's
Mhm.
about freedom for me. I don't mean to be like really trite or lame or like flag a concept that's just overused, but it really is that. It is a kind of like freedom to go and do and be as I want to be. It's independence.
Yeah. I believe that as you say, it's about freedom. This kind of brings in a worldview for me. It's about freedom in that season where I was going through physical pain and trauma and challenge. It was about the freedom to have that mobility, literally just to walk, just to be
Yeah.
able to stand at the stove and cook again, or to pick up at that time in life 10 years ago, pick up my, at the
Yeah.
time, 25-pound daughter,
Yeah.
which I couldn't do. I couldn't get up the steps. I couldn't make love. I couldn't sit in a chair and read. I literally laid flat on the ground all the time, and
Wow.
it was incredibly difficult. So it had to be about something. And that freedom
Wow.
of mobility was part of it. I'd say that, freedom of choices, and, freedom to be able to make some of those financial choices, that's important. Freedom of time.
Yeah.
These are all important things. But in that season, for me, it was getting back to a place where I could just walk again, literally just walk. And it's
Yeah.
funny how life changes everything. It's like someone said, if you have your health, you have everything. If you don't have your health, you have nothing, or some quote like that. And that is
Yeah.
so true for those who've experienced that chronic, excruciating pain.
Yeah. Did you have a procedure ultimately? I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. Ultimately, by the way, I tried everything from that
Yeah.
December 3rd day until the day of the surgery, which was June 14th, 2016. Tried
Mm.
everything. And everything means, hypnosis and
Wow.
acupuncture and physical therapy and psychedelics. Yeah, even that, something different I never even considered.
Wow.
We tried eventually, had to have the spinal cortisone shot, which
Yeah, I
was
did that.
nerve-wracking to me. That didn't have any
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
And some other things too. Cupping was one of them, and other stuff. But ultimately, we had to go under the knife and have that surgery, that discectomy, L4, L5 discectomy. So
I took a little piece of the
yeah,
disc off, got it
yeah,
out of it. Yeah,
yeah,
that can work really well. Yeah, 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 that's great. Because then you're not adding metal or anything weird into the body. You're just taking out something that's causing a problem.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so something else really caught my attention earlier. Those of you who've listened to the show before, I heard this. You probably know I heard this. You said that your wife was doing a puzzle at the very beginning of our conversation, and my wife and I, we are speed puzzlers, and we compete in the U.S. Jigsaw Puzzling
No.
Championship. We didn't do it this year because we were moving, but
Nice.
that's something we like to do. So I'm curious, if you remember, what was your wife puzzling, and are you a puzzler too?
Yeah, I'm a puzzler by association. My mother is an avid puzzler. In fact, a few Christmases ago, I built her a puzzle table, so she could really get dedicated about it. So she comes down, she winters down here for 3 months around the holidays and stays through March. And we actually man, we have stacks of puzzles that are hers that are in our home. So when the power was out, my wife's like, "There's nothing to, that's, your phone's unlimited power. You don't know how much power you got left in that. Every battery you have is like, precious at that point because it could be out for days after hurricane. So a
Yeah.
puzzle's the best. I mean, other than reading, is the best outlet of your attention at that point. But I mean, the fact that you've competed at it, that's insane. I no, I don't.
I
That's
know.
that's so great.
Nerd
Love it.
alert. Yeah, love it. Love the puzzles.
I
Uh,
don't know, man. It takes a certain kind of like mentality. I'll tell you a funny this will tie back to something we were talking about earlier. I actually will often report to my mom or to my wife. I'm like, I notice my addict mind comes online when I puzzle. There's a kind of reward system that I notice comes online where it's like I start feeling this like at scale. It's not at all the same as drinking, but it's like a mini version of like that reward system happening. And I find that a bit troubling because it feels like a, I don't want to say the word triggering, but it's like it's reminding me of a kind of mind state that I don't like being in. So I'll push back at some point and be like, I'm good. I've had enough dopamine hits for this because I noticed that happening.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. I've always tried to understand those who have the desire, the drive, the willpower, the constitution to let go of alcohol.
Mm,
Because I've seen so many, and even personally have people that are close in my world that their lives have ended because of it.
yeah.
And they said they wanted help. They said they wanted to stop. They never did. They never knew how, or just yeah.
Mm.
How? I mean, that wasn't the original question, but how did you stop?
Yeah.
If I could ask that before we move on, how'd you stop?
So my usual response to this is something that actually kind of offends people.
Oh,
And that is this. I equate this to you're walking down a railroad track and you notice there's a train coming. And
okay.
it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to stand here and get hit by the train. You're going to step off the track. That's where I felt like I was at with my drinking. And I think what that's saying is that for me, the bottom of my barrel wasn't as dark as it can get for some people. I met people through recovery circles. I met people that really struggled to get sober. It was really hard for me for about a week. And then the next 3 months had a kind of flavor that was difficult. And then there was a kind of a 5 year loop where it took a while to stop thinking a drink would help. But eventually, for me, I felt like taking a sobriety was a lot easier than a lot of people I know. And people will tell me that that's really unfair because not everybody can step out of the way of the train, even though they know it's coming. There are just people, as you said, you know people who have died from it. It's like
Yeah,
those people knew the train was there and they couldn't step away from it. And so I'm grateful for having the whatever it is that I don't understand to go, oh, there's a
yeah,
train coming. I'm just gonna get off this track for right now. That was what it was for me. I stopped trusting myself. Every rule I made, I broke. Everything I said I wasn't going to do, I ended up doing. Like it kind of just got ridiculous. So I'm like, I'm ridiculous. I'm being ridiculous. I can't trust this brain to make the right choices in this anymore. Is it really that important? Let's just, there's other things to focus on in life. Maybe
yeah,
I can do that. So,
yeah.
yep.
Well, kudos, my friend, for overcoming
Thanks.
that addiction
Yeah, thank you.
and for enduring and in the overcoming process right now of this challenge that started with your C5-6 collapsing. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And one thing to point out, dear listener, we all know this instinctively, but I want to bring it to light, is that while Damon is undergoing, enduring, overcoming all of these challenges in the last year, he is still running an entrepreneurial business. And
Yeah.
business doesn't just stop because you're in pain. You still
Nope.
has to figure out a way to keep going. So I'd love to, talk a little bit about your business and kind of where you're pouring your energy and passion into professionally nowadays.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So my newest project I love, and the downside of it is that it's not a moneymaker. It's definitely a loss leader kind of activity, but it's a, as marketers would say, it's a top of funnel activity. I launched a group that's a meetup once a month, and there are a couple of outcomes from this that matter to me. One, it's for men. It's called Taco Bros Day. We get together on the second Wednesday of every month at a scouted location. So I've actually got a couple of guys that I get together. We go try taco stands and like places where the stands will gather, and like we look for a place to go, and then that becomes the location. So in just under 2 weeks, we're gonna get together again with the guys, and this is a thing that's slowly gaining some momentum.
Yeah.
And so initially it's like I want a space for men to get together to be able to just talk about whatever they want to talk about, to do my part to fight isolation. And I know this is something that touches everyone's lives, but I'm more concerned at this point for men because these are my clients, these are the people that I'm working with. And then the knock on from this is that this pool of men showing up to this could potentially become clients for mine. They could become part of my men's group. I also have a men's group right now. It's we meet online, but I would love to have a men's group that we get together in the real world. I'd love to shift my business from Zoom into the real world locally, and that's just been a problem of network. So this is kind of, that, one stone, many birds kind of thing where I'm like, I'm asking this thing to do a lot, but I'm really energized about it. I love it. And it's tacos. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just so easy.
Yeah.
Like it's tacos.
Heck yeah. I
Right?
love the sound of it.
Right.
If you would have said anything other than tacos, I don't know. But ta I mean, this sounds amazing.
Right.
So you get together with other men who, at this time, it's a few of you, but
Yeah.
you get together and talk about the stuff that, even for me, I'm 48. I'd say that as little as 10 years ago, I'm not going to admit out loud or even talk about the idea of having a therapist or
Sure.
talking about my feelings. I didn't grow up talking about feelings. You suppress
Yeah.
that. You don't ever talk about that. But now, because I've been in front row dads for 6.5 years, I've been talking about feelings and learning how to get in touch with my emotions for a long time. Is it like that? Do you get a chance to really explore and dive deeper
Yeah.
into who you are and learning just, yeah, I guess kind of reclaiming that
Yeah.
inner peace? I mean, what does that look like to you?
So that element shows up in Tolomen, which is my men's group, which is an
Yes.
actual like that's a thing. There's a monthly fee with it and whatnot. But the Taco Bros Day, I've really tried to handle this lightly as far as, putting a steering wheel on what is expected. The expectations you show up, bring somebody with you next time. So we're doubling every time. And so far that plan is working. But yeah, I don't want to like, guys, you got to get together and talk about your feelings or hey, let's talk about manly stuff. Like none of that. Literally
Yeah.
just show up, eat tacos, and talk about what you want. Just be in communion with other men, and that's
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Yeah. And I tell you right now that we're recording this here in the last day of July 2025. I promise you tonight we're having tacos for dinner. So thank you for planting the seed. This
Happy to
is,
inspire.
yeah, this is good. Well, I'd say what is the purpose of your men's group?
Yeah. So business wise, the purpose of
Yeah.
my men's group is to create a space where it's more affordable for men to work with me. Working with me one on one is an investment.
Yeah.
Um, but it's proven to be also just really rewarding for me personally to be involved with these men and hear them talk about what matters to them, what's on their mind. Something kind of interesting happened the first time we met. I thought, okay, this is going to be me doing one-on-one coaching with one of the guys, and the rest will be an audience. So one of the guys started to share something. I don't even remember what it was anymore. It's been a while. And he got finished, and there was a bit of a pause. And one of the guys said, "Hey, can I say something about that?" And I was like, "Yes, you can." And suddenly this thing was co-created. Suddenly the men were having a dialogue that didn't require me to do anything other than make sure everybody was getting an at bat in the conversation. It wasn't me having to like strong arm the conversation and make it be about this or make it be about that. We talk about a lot. What comes up often is the things that matter to these men. Their anger comes up, shame comes up,
Yeah.
dealing with family, burnout comes up. I'll generally kick them a question a few days before the meeting and say, guys, chew on this. I want to hear about situations. I want to hear stories. Bring a story to the call. And we usually get into some mess, which is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder how, as being a leader and facilitator of a men's group like this, I wonder how, if you were to look at your own journey in life when you started the group compared to
Hmm.
now, what has being involved in leading this men's group, what has it taught you about you and
Hmm.
about what it means to be a man, you?
Yeah. Yeah. I got to think about that. That's a great question. Um, one of the things I didn't anticipate learning about being a man, so when you get into men's work, all of a sudden you're confronted with ideas of like masculinity. All of a sudden I'm talking about masculinity. I've never wanted to talk about masculinity, but here I am, and I'm being asked these questions, and then I'm turning around and I'm asking the guys, and I'm getting into dialogue, not just within the group, but also within my social circle. I'm also in contact with a lot of other coaches and other men, and I'm like, hey, I asked my men's group this question. What do you think about this? And specifically the topic of masculinity came up, and it's either true in a way that I don't understand or it's true about the men that are in my life, but most of them had a sort of similar response to it, which was, I don't really know. I don't really connect with this word, and I don't really find anything valuable in trying to connect with it. Some of them were charitable and tried to like characterize it. Some had a kind of traditional understanding of it. Some had a kind of updated, monetized one. I had one guy who was like, "I see no point in talking about this, and I don't want to talk about it." He just rejected it. But in general, the men that for some reason that are connecting with me, and I don't know if this is more of a reflection of who I am or a reflection of a percentage of the men out there. I did not expect this, but they just generally are like, nah, hmm, nah, don't really want to get into masculinity.
Okay.
They wanted to find value and purpose and a sense of wholeness through something else. And it wasn't femininity either. They did not
Okay.
want to identify with that either. It was like these two ideas can just sawed off something
Okay.
else. Give me something else. And so that's been interesting. And I think it's been a gut check to finally answer your question is like, yeah, I can relate to that. I'm not really grooving with it's an interesting topic. I think masculinity is a great inroad into conversation about what matters to men. But
Yes.
for some reason, the conversations I'm having, it's just that. It's just the doorway in. And then it's like, we're through that doorway. Let's forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that question.
Yeah, it connects with me because I had a strong father figure in my life, and he was my idol. I looked up to him, and a strong self-esteem because of the way my parents raised me. Also,
Mm,
we didn't have many feelings that were shared from time to time. We had feelings of
sure.
celebration when we scored, did well in sports, and got
Yep.
grades and achieved. But
Yeah.
outside of achievement, we didn't highlight or express emotion. I saw my dad cry twice in his life,
Mm,
and that was at his dad and then his mom funerals.
got it.
So I didn't get in touch with that until I joined a group and was able to let go of some of the built up anger.
Yeah.
So in any event, for what I've personally found value in being in a men's group, it has
Yeah.
completely changed my life,
Yeah.
completely in a positive way.
Yeah.
And it's not for the faint of heart to come face to face with your stuff and to
Yeah.
work through it.
Yep.
What would be your maybe wisdom or piece of advice to someone who's on the precipice of I'm interested in doing that work. I don't know what it involves,
Mm.
and maybe I'm a little bit nervous or hesitant. How might you approach that person and talk to that person?
Yeah. I kind of view this in the same way I think about making any choice. The great thing about making choices is you can make another choice. So, choose to join a men's group. And if you decide it's not for you, choose to leave that men's group. So maybe the advice is find a men's group that's easy to join, easy to quit. I mean, if it's got a year sign up kind of thing, it's like, well, maybe that's not for you. You need the ability to make another choice.
The beauty of your answer to me is its simplicity
Yeah.
because we
Thank
didn't
you.
overthink that.
Yeah.
Uh, just get involved.
Yeah.
Don't overthink
What's
it.
what's the worst that's gonna happen? You don't share. You decide it's uncomfortable and it's awkward. These guys are weirdos. I don't like them. Peace out. I don't have to be here. You know?
Yeah. Well, where can we find out more about you, your group, and just if we want to connect with you and study with you, learn with you, where do we go to find you, Damon?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do terrible reciting domains here, but I'm most active on Substack. I
Okay.
just yesterday launched a new Substack, which is Tolerance of Men. I think it's toleranceofmen.substack.com is the actual domain for that. So there's only one piece on there, but I have another Substack. I don't want to confuse this conversation with that. This new one is where I'm going to focus my energy. I really talk to my audience now as much as possible. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll have to give you that link because I'm going to recite it wrong if I try to. And then yeah, and then my website, which is intentionalizemylife.com. And there's a / Tolomen for the men's group, which is Tolomen.
Okay, I see it, and I do see you on LinkedIn, and this is great. I love your LinkedIn profile, Damon
Oh,
Mitchell,
thanks.
coach for men, and it's bright and it's very easy to see,
Thank you.
and it's yeah, easy to follow, easy to like, and I think if I'm not mistaken that you've got links that can take us to your Substack in here, if I'm
Yeah,
not
there's a
mistaken.
link right at the top. Yep, I just updated that this week. It'll zip you out there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So there it is, all right there. And
Yeah.
I looked at the first time in your Substack, and I think we were talking about it before. The first name of the article, it really grabbed my attention. I'm forgetting it at the exact moment, but there are a number of places where you have written in Substack where it's just eye-catching articles and thoughts. And when
Mm,
you dive into it, it's not just surface level reading, it's a little bit deeper. So if you enjoy that a little bit deeper reading and a deeper understanding of self, then Damon Mitchell Substack's the place to go. You can
Yeah,
find it on
thanks for saying
LinkedIn.
that.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, so deep to a fault. I think for some people that's the thing that like, oh, this goes too deep. But if you like depth, we're gonna go there. Yeah, 100%.
Yes. Yes. Well, David, I think it's about time for us to wrap up here in a couple minutes. So I'd love to say, is there any other story or that you haven't shared or question I didn't ask? Is anything else you'd like to share before we
Hmm.
wrap things up today?
Yeah. I think we've talked about all the things at this point. I really think we've gotten into some messy weeds. I'm afraid if I open another can of worms at this point, we might go over.
Another half hour. Here we go.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Well, you know where to find Damon. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him at his Substack, and just go straight to LinkedIn to find his Substack. So it's been really easy to talk with you. I feel comfortable. Or for
Thank
someone
you.
who's done a lot of this men's work myself, I'd say that the facilitator making it a safe space is super important, and you've done really, really well with that. So for those
Oh,
of you out
thank
there
you.
looking for a jumping off point, I can tell you from experience, this feels like a good one. So
I
check out
appreciate that.
Damon there. Um, so having said that, Dave, we're going to go into our lightning round and wrap things up with the last three questions here.
Oh boy.
So ding, ding, ding. Here we go. So first question, can you name between 1 to 3 books that have had an impact on you that you might recommend to our audience?
Yeah. So top of my list is it 4,000 Weeks, time management book for mortals, Oliver Berkman. Atomic Habits is definitely up there. Oh, come on, Damon. Author's name. Well, look up Atomic Habits. Everybody knows the author. And then
Yeah.
this is an old one, and it might be common, but the Power of Now. That book really shook me up when I first read it. I read it a long time ago, and it stayed with me.
Yeah. Excellent choices. Uh, so I really want to dig a little bit deeper in this next one because I have no idea where you're going to go with it. Can you talk to us about what is your favorite, like a song, musician, genre, just anything musical
Oh
that
my
just fills
gosh.
your cup and just gets you fired up?
You're not gonna believe this. This is not gonna match anything I've said so far. I wake up, so I have ADHD. I wake up every morning with a song in my head. I have an earworm at all times. I have an earworm. Sometimes I have two or three, but the greatest song in the world by Tenacious D is constantly in my head when I'm making my morning coffee, and it's funny to me.
That's so awesome. You just took me straight to the Minecraft movie of all things, and I think Jack Black is incredible
Yep.
in this new movie. But you're taking me back to what's the one with John Cusack when they worked in the record store together with Jack
Oh,
Black,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Oh, I had it.
Infidelity or
High, high,
High Fidelity.
high fidelity.
Uh,
Yes, yes.
yeah, uh,
Great
yeah,
film.
yeah. It's just yeah, Jack Black and Tenacious D, The School of Rock. It's great stuff. So you're making me smile right now thinking about it.
Amen.
And is that the point of music? It's the for me, it's to take an emotional moment in time and to reconnect me with that, or to find some type of music that brings me a joy or an inspiration.
Sure.
And you just did, so thank you. Uh, thank
You
you for
can't beat
that.
the greatest song in the world, even if it's only a tribute.
Fair. This is true. Well, Dave, let's go to the last question. Last
Okay.
question. You are on the Eternal Optimist podcast, and when I say Eternal Optimist, what does that mean to you, sir?
Yeah. This idea resonates with me so much, and it feels like it's just kind of the way I try to move through life, as I was saying earlier, this idea that you have two ways you can look at a situation. And it's really tempting in understanding why we look at a situation from the state of what's happening to us. It's very natural. That is a very natural way for us to be. Is like this is happening to me. Life is happening to me. And it can be almost offensive from that standpoint to understand that there is a way to look at it and see what you can own and what you can do differently. That's what I think about when I think about optimism. It's like, yeah, you can sit around looking at all the bad things. And I do. I spend a lot of time. I do. I get caught in those things too. I'm a human being. But at some point, we have to make a decision. We're wise to make a decision to figure out what we can own and what we can run after.